say either. I say either.
So, after making a vow never to stay awake beyond 9 p.m., guess what time I finally went to bed last night? 1 a.m. In fact, last night I went to bed this morning. In my defense, I was on board member duty at the Glitz Women of the Year Awards until several minutes past midnight. Anyway, I promise I'll try harder tonight. But today, we can all try harder to say, I went to bed by 1 a.m. instead of I slept at 1 a.m. Do you know why it's wrong to say I slept at 1 a.m.? Well, think about it for a moment. Even though you can tell what time it was when you went to bed, there is no way you can be sure of the exact minute you slept. So to say it right, you can tell us when you went to bed, not when you slept, especially if you were not all by yourself as I was last night. Yes, and I cannot be impeached on the facts. Okay, Raymond is looking at me because he doesn't know what I'm referring to. Just before the news review, though, new concerns over the state of the economy as Standard & Poor's downgrades us again.
All those who are already registered will not be excluded through this arrangement.
That's correct.
But you have a situation where...
Sorry about that. That's the wrong sound. We will bring you the sounds relating to this story. But what are the facts?
Well, it's very simple. We're at BB minus, and we've now been reduced to C plus, and it's junk status.
Yeah.
The fact that Ghana now, the risk of defaulting in our payment is very high. And so you could ask the simple question, what could that mean? You had the finance minister when he was in parliament, make the point that would have to rely on domestic borrowing. Domestic borrowing because the conditions are not favorable for the country Ghana to go to the world market. And we also know what domestic borrowing means and the inability to borrow, externally, meaning for the country. One of the discussions when the IMF was in town was the fact that, the minority should even support, the $750 million loan, because that was needed. We needed some dollars into the country. I'm sure you remember that at the beginning of the year, there was a conversation that the regular injection of $2 billion or $3 billion into the Ghanaian economy, as we saw in the last few years, was not something we could do this year. And the evidence is what you've seen with the Ghanaian currency. The Eurobond coming through is what you've seen with the currency.
We're nearing 9 cities.
Yes, we're nearing 9 cities. If you go to
$1,
some places, you get it for 9 Ghana cities. Yeah. Clearly, there is a challenge.
Already 9 cities in some places. Yeah.
Now, the key point is, what will the downgrading further do to the Ghanaian economy? We'll find out more about this because we'll be joined by Dr. Theo Champo, who's an economist and political risk analyst, shortly here on the Super Morning Show. But I guess we can get into
the newspapers in the meantime. The news reviews is brought to us every morning by Milo Energy to go further, Enterprise Life's Family Income Security Plan, Enterprise Your Advantage, and First Atlantic Bank, refreshingly different. So what's in the papers?
Let me start with the Daily Graphic. It's reporting this morning, making country self-sufficient. We will build robust economy. This is the President of the Republic of Ghana speaking. Said they are working very hard. And the interesting part, even in the midst of a global crisis, to make sure that this country, the Republic of Ghana, is self-sufficient. Now, to that end, the government was pursuing aggressive policies and programs towards the structural transformation of the economy to make it more robust to withstand both internal and external shocks. Virtually every time, this is what we say, right?
Well, talking about making it robust and being able to stand all the shocks, let's get on to Zoom now, because Theo Champo is joining us. Be telling us his views about how the downgrading would affect the Ghanaian economy and what must be done. But I'm interested in how it would affect all of us seated here, because that's the end result. Dr. Theo Champo, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I seem to have a bit of a sound issue.
No, we can hear you. Thank you very much for joining us. So let's just get into what you make of, the recent downgrading by Standard & Poor's. What would that mean for the Ghanaian economy, particularly we, the citizens of this country?
I think that the first key thing really is the fact that the cost of financing is going to increase. More so given the challenges that the government has had with raising revenue. So if you recall, S&P earlier in the year, they decided not to downgrade Ghana when the two other rating agencies, i.e. Fitch and Moody's, had done so.
Yeah.
And they said that with an expectation that some of the new revenue measures, the e-levy and additional collections would come through. And halfway through the year, what we've seen actually is the e-levy underperforming and collecting only about 10% of its intended target. So what this really has done is even made the financing landscape for the country even much more challenging because the country's debt has been pretty much put into a speculative trajectory, and we are only one step below being classified in or as being in default in that regard. And so the financing landscape has become extremely challenging or limiting for the government. The deficit and the debt is rising, and amidst all the follow-on effect of the pandemic and then the war in Ukraine, it just means that things are going to be much more challenging. And if anything, the government has to fast track the negotiations with the IMF for them to be able to come in a bit much more quickly than say latter part of next year.
Now, talking about fast tracking with the IMF, we'll come to that shortly, but you've talked about the financial difficulties of the government resulting in challenges. What I'd love to know is what these challenges could be.
So the challenges, as we've seen in the last few months, stem from both fiscal and monetary. So let me quickly explain that. We've seen inflation at almost 20-year highs. We've seen the cedi coming under sustained pressure with almost 20 plus or so % depreciation year to date. And in the last few days when I was actually in Ghana, I saw the cedi, more or less losing a lot of ground to the cedi, to the dollar. And these are things that actually affect both your imports and also the export and make the cost of living for ordinary Ghanaians who are buying, kenke or wache or food much onerous for them. And what is then compounding that is the fact that the government itself now is actually struggling to raise financing. And so with this additional downgrade, practically the market is shut out for them. They will struggle to raise any more money from the international capital market. And even if they did, the rates that they're going to pay will be extremely punitive for them. And so these are some of the manifestations of what this potential downgrade would mean for the economy, but also for ordinary Ghanaians.
Dr. Champong, I'm wondering what options are available to government. Are we simply a slave to, these externalities? We've been downgraded, so it's going to cost us more to borrow, or we may not even be able to borrow from the international market. We have to fall on local market. Are there no leadership decisions that can be made that will maneuver us out of this situation? What have other countries done when they found themselves in such a corner?
I think two quick responses to that. In the immediate term, what is the policy option on the table is just fast tracking the negotiations with the IMF for policy credibility, but also for economic stability, because that sends a strong signal to the market about the reform path or options that will take going forward. So this is quite imperative. Other than that, we're still going to see continuous, hemorrhaging on the cedi and extra, pressure on Ghanaians going forward. But then in the more medium to long term, what is quite pivotal and important, I think, is the restructuring of the economy, but also cutting our waste or our cloth according to our size by the expenditure rationalization and living within our means and ensuring that there's value for money, in the award of contracts, and those big structural reform things that we've been talking about ad nauseum for the last couple of years. But the government is in a very, very, very difficult
Dr.
tight
Champong,
spot.
these things you talk about were things we were told in March this year that we're going to do. It's been 3 months.
But some of them we didn't fully do, especially
Exactly.
on the revenue side of the equation.
And so,
for example,
what is going to change?
So this time around, it's two things. You either increase your revenue or you cut your expenditure. And that's why we indicated, when the finance minister came to Parliament a few weeks ago with the media review, he said that they were going to keep the deficit at about 6.6% by the end of the year. But already half year, we had actually done 5.6%. And some of us said that there is no way that 6.6% figure was going to be, attained by the end of this year. So it's a policy credibility issue, and the extent that many observers and analysts, to an extent, don't trust the numbers that are being churned out by the government, and the mathematics basically don't add up. And to fix that, you have to either reduce the expenses or increase the revenue. And we know that the e-levy is not the way to go. Luckily, they've passed the tax exemptions bill now. Yeah. So one of the key anchors now going also forward is to see the extent to which the implementation of that tax exemptions bill will be able to plug some of the revenue loopholes, but at the same time, seeing a much more bigger commitment from the government on the expenditure side of the equation. We're still talking irregularities, we're still talking additional leakages, and we're still talking the need to ensure value for money. There's no silver bullet in all of this, but I think we need to have a credible and an honest conversation, and the government's own numbers need to speak to the reality of the situation, which unfortunately hasn't been the case in the last couple of months.
And talking about the reality, if you look at the media budget, for instance, the finance minister has told you, when it comes to revenue, we've reduced our revenue projection.
But we only did from 137, by about 2% from 100.
I'm talking about revenue from 100 billion to 96 billion. We've actually reduced our total expenditure from 137 billion to 135.
135. It's only about 2 billion.
But so the net effect,
actually not that significant.
Exactly. The net effect is that you've actually increased your expenditure because you've reduced your revenue. So all the things you've said, based on the data in front of us, is it not obvious that this year that's not achievable?
I mean, and we said this. So the numbers I have indicated don't add up. And the media review numbers, which the ratings agencies, your S&Ps and the Moody's and the like, have also analyzed, basically have come to a conclusion to the fact that the media budget and the overall budget numbers for this year are not credible. It's as simple as that.
Dr. Theo Champong, as much as it's possible, we would like to come back to this with you later on. So thank you so much for now. But that was Dr. Theo Champong sharing some very interesting views there on the recent downgrading.
You know, Guta issued a statement where they said that businesses are bleeding to death, calling on government to show some leadership because the cedi is not performing well at all against.
We need to talk about that as well. When we come back from the BBC News, actually, let's see if we can get into that. But right now, though, the online review, which is brought to us by Zenith Bank in your best interest, Goyle Good Energy, and Eden Heights Luxury has a new destination. Not forgetting Bigu Drink.
Now, Goyle, your oil marketing company of choice, keeps making life ever so convenient. Goyle now accepts Momo for all fuel purchases at key selected stations. Just remember to Momo it at Goyle. That's not all. You can also use your bank card to buy fuel at Goyle, and this is made possible by APSA. Drive to Goyle stations now, buy your fuel, pay by Momo or a bank card, and you're good to go. Visit Goyle social media platforms, Facebook, goil.official, Instagram goil_GH, and Twitter on goil_official. For more information on the service stations, you can conveniently use Momo. Goil, good energy. Goil, yeah, yeah,
Well, your home is more than where you lay your head. Your Eden Heights Homes gives your family the best quality of life with a full-size football pitch, tennis courts, basketball courts, swimming pools, gyms, and so much more. Eden Heights, it's a place where you live, play, and relax, and is located just 2 minutes behind the West Hills Mall. Reserve your apartment today with a flexible payment plan of up to 2 years. Book a site tour with us or call our team for more information on 050-531-444 or 0501531-445 or visit our website edenheights.com.gh. Eden Heights, luxury has a new definition.
Zenith Bank just made linking your Ghana card details to your Zenith Bank account easy. Simply visit zenithbank.com.gh or the Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter pages to link your card to your account, or visit any Zenith Bank branch near you. An email and SMS with the link has also been sent to you, dear valued customer. Remember, with effect from January or July 1st, 2022, you will not be able to effect any banking transactions if you have not updated your Zenith Bank account with your Ghana card details. Link your Ghana card to your Zenith Bank account today. It's easy, quick, and convenient. Zenith Bank, in your best interests.
Let's go for the BBC News now, brought to us by Fidelity Bank. Believe with us, Telefonica Ghana, celebrating 20 years of legacy, and Millennium Insurance, your trustworthy partner.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Jack, you know my boss owns a